Hi Year 4, welcome to another story time. You've been working so hard this week, so it's really nice to end the week with a story. So today, I thought I would read something from this lovely book, Myths and Legends of the World. And there's lots of different stories in this book, all myths and legends from around the world, stories that have been told by people for thousands of years. And this one is from North America, which I thought would be a really good one to read because of our topic. There is some pictures, but I'm not going to be able to read it like that because I'm not that strong to hold this heavy book for that long. So I'll just read it and then I'll show you the pictures afterwards. So it is called Coyote Steals Fire for the People, from the Native American people of the United States. When the world was still brand new, the earth began turning with the seasons. The people were happiest when spring blossomed and ripened the trees, when summer dropped plump and delicious fruits into their arms, and when autumn cast deep, warm colours into their dreams. But the colours of autumn always faded, and then the pinpricks of frost came over the land, signalling winter. For the people, winter was brutal. Each time the seasons rolled around, they became fearful and troubled, and some of the children and elders, the weaker ones of the tribe, died during the long freezing nights. The people had heard of fire, this mythical warm-giving thing, but they had never seen it before and did not know where it came from. If only we had fire to stay warm during the winter, they mourned, huddling together and mourning the recent deaths of one of their infants. Coyote, who with his thick coat had no need for fire, saw the people struggling year after year. Their wails made the fur on the back of on his back stand on end. Their sadness chilled Coyote to his bones. In early spring, before the chill had fully loosened its grip, Coyote found his animal friends. He wanted to talk to them about helping the people. It seems the people are not able to cope with our harsh winters, Coyote said to Squirrel, Chipmunk and Frog, but we animals are able to survive the winter on our own. Chipmunk nodded in agreement. I hibernate. So do I, Frog chimed in. I sleep for months on a bed of mud beneath the frozen surface of the pond. And I spend winters in my den, which is warm enough for me, added Squirrel. And you have nice warm fur, he said to Coyote. You're right, I am lucky, said Coyote. The people are not so lucky. I think I know a way to help them. There is a mountaintop where the fire beings live. I stumbled upon these mystical creatures one evening. While making the deep, enchanted parts of the forest. Do you know them? His friends all shook their heads. Well, these creatures are selfish and keep all the fire in the world to themselves, even though the people so desperately need it. They closely guard their fire night and day, afraid that giving away their precious gift might lessen their power. But I've heard there is one moment in the early morning when they let their guard down. At that moment, I will steal fire for the people. Coyote told his friends that he needed their help, and they agreed to his plan. Coyote, Squirrel, Chipmunk and Frog set out for the camp of the fire beings. The trail was still icy and just beginning to thaw, but the animals used their claws as they climbed the mountain where the fire beings lived. When they arrived close to the top of the mountain, it was the dead of night. From a distance, the animals could see the orange glow of the fire and smell the smoke. However, only Coyote was to approach the camp of the fire beings, so he could secretly grab the fire and run when the time came. The other animals stayed back, but not too far away, ready to help if necessary. As Coyote crept closer, he made sure to keep quiet, slipping between the trees. He found 4 beings, each sitting on their own blackened tree stump, forming a circle around a crackling bonfire. Their bodies glowed red like coals, and their eyes glinted like flint. At the ends of their fingers were long, vulture-like claws. The fire reached as high as the tops of the ancient trees surrounding the clearing and roared as it blazed. So this is fire, Coyote whispered to himself in awe. Who goes there? Screeched one of the fire beings as they all rose to their feet. What do you want with us? Screeched another. It's nothing, said a third being, peering directly at Coyote in his hiding place. Just a mangy coyote who has no need for fire. And the fire beings turned away from him. Coyote heaved a deep sigh and lay down on the ground, a few feet closer to the fire beings' camp. They'd mistaken him for an ordinary coyote and didn't care that he was there. Well then, Coyote thought, all the easier to inch even nearer to the prize. With fallen pine needles and dried hickory scraps from the forest, the fire beings fed their fire to grow in massive proportions. As the night wore on, each fire being retreated to their shelter to sleep, one by one, until there was only one left on guard. As the deep night lightened into dawn, the last fire being yawned deeply. It was nearly his turn to sleep, and Coyote could tell he was getting weary. The fire being slunk over to the shelter and called out, "Sister, come out here and watch the fire. I'm tired now and I want to rest." "I'm coming," she replied, bleary-eyed and sluggish, but she did not come right away. This was the moment for Coyote to make his move. Seizing his chance, Coyote pounced, snatching a burning stick from the fire. He placed it carefully between his teeth and sprang away down the mountain with the stolen prize. The fire beings saw that they had been tricked. Shrieking, they flew down the mountain after him. As fast as Coyote could run, the fire beings were faster. One of them reached out and grabbed the tip of Coyote's tail, singeing it white with fierce heat. This is why Coyote's tail's tips are still white to this day. Coyote yelped in pain, and his friends immediately came to help. "Squirrel, grab the fire!" Coyote shouted. He tossed the burning branch to Squirrel, who placed it on her back and ran. But the fire was too hot for Squirrel, and it curled her tail right up and back, which is how Squirrel's tails became this shape. The fire beings were too fast for Squirrel too. As soon as they caught up with her, "Chipmunk, take the fire!" Squirrel yelled to her friends, who caught the fire. But the fire beings were catching up to him fast. As Chipmunk turned to run away, one of the beings scratched down the length of his back with its steely claws, creating the 3 lines that you can still see on a chipmunk's back today. Thankfully, Frog hopped alongside and grabbed the fire from Chipmunk's tiny claws. The fire beings grabbed Frog's tail, trying to stop her. Frog wriggled free, still holding onto the fire, but left his tail behind, which is why frogs now don't have tails. "Over here!" yelled Wood, a gnarled tree trunk with 2 knocks for eyes and a hollow opening for a mouth. "Toss the fire to me!" Frog hopped as fast as possible towards Wood, just as the fire beings were closing in. She tossed the fire into Wood's mouth, which then closed. Everyone heard a faint sizzle as Wood swallowed the fire, and the chase ceased at once. The animals heaved with relief. The fire beings stopped in their tracks. They gathered together, blinking their flinty eyes and glowing render with every second. But they did not know how to get the fire out of Wood. First, they tried to bribe it with gifts of smoke and light, but what use were these to Wood? Next, they sang enchanted songs, trying to coax the fire out of Wood. But Wood did not hear their songs. Becoming enraged, the fire beings started to shout and threaten Wood with knives. But Wood was immune to these threats, and the fire beings had to give up. Angry and defeated, the fire beings trudged back to their mountaintop, knowing that a piece of their precious fire had been relinquished. But Wood whispered to clever Coyote how to get the fire out of him. Coyote then went back to the people and showed them how to rub 2 dry wooden sticks together and spin a sharpened stick in a hole in another piece of wood. "This is how you make heat," he told the people, and eventually fire. The people would never again suffer during freezing winters. They were forever grateful to Coyote for the gift of fire. So that story there is from North America, and then Native American tribes would tell that story, and it is a bit of a legend of how the squirrel got its tail, and the chipmunks and the frog and the coyote, all of those characters in the book, and how the people got fire. So what a lovely story for our topic to read together. So 1 more week left of online learning, year 4, and then we will all be back together in the classroom, which I am so excited for, and I hope you are too. So 1 more week of hard work next week, and we've got World Book Day to look forward to as well, which will be lovely next Thursday. And then I will see you in just over a week's time. So see you very soon, year 4. Bye.